What's up, y'all? It's Scott from Stringjoy Guitar Strings in Nashville, Tennessee. Today we have a fun one for you. Somebody emailed in and asked me what my desert island guitar pedal would be, which, by the way, thank you to those of you that will email in questions. It can be hard sometimes to come up with new ideas for what videos we should shoot, so it makes life a lot easier and I really appreciate it. But anyway, I thought long and hard about this. I have a pretty full board. I've got probably 8 or 10 pedals. It oscillates around a little bit. And I use a little bit of everything, from chorus to phasers to flange to delays and reverbs and drives and all that sort of cool stuff. So it was pretty hard to try to whittle it down to just one thing. I had a few different debates. Do I just go all in on fuzz and just be able to do J Mascis style riffs and nothing else? That was actually pretty tempting. Do I just get a phaser and stay really funky, like this Apollo 2 from Solid Gold? I thought about that too, but that seemed kind of weird to have one pedal on a board that was just a phaser. I also thought about going with just a delay, like the El Capistan, which is definitely my favorite tape delay and probably my most used delay in general. That was a really, really close one because I do love delay. It really shapes the way that I play sometimes, and it's hard to play things just a certain way without it. And then I even kind of had a weird thought, do I just be like Devo and just make it the ring modulator just to be as awkward as possible and make the most alienating sounds? This one actually I thought would be a pretty good idea considering the fact that I am in this idea on a desert island, and what I need to do is to make screeching sounds that will be noticed by boats and things like that that are flying over. And for that, I thought the ring modulator could be pretty good, especially if I had like a full stack or something like that. I could make some distress signals out of this guy. But no, when it all really boiled down, I went with a pedal that I've talked about before, and right now is my favorite pedal. That could certainly change in the future, but I sure do love it a lot, and it is the Mini from smallsound, bigsound. If you haven't heard of smallsound, bigsound before, Brian's the guy who does it. It's just him as far as I know. He is the keyboardist in Cymbals Eat Guitars, which is an awesome band as well and has a lot of great pedals. This one is a J-Fat overdrive, but it can do so much more than all that. It can do a lot of really cool things. It's a really cool design pedal. It's really small and it packs a ton of punch. It's got 5 knobs, bass, treble, a bias switch we'll show you, gain, and a volume. All sorts of cool stuff. Ultimately, when I kind of thought about it, if I'm on a desert island and I want to play the most riffs, drive is just like the sound of the electric guitar, you know? Like reverb's really important, delay is important, all those things can have a big effect on your tone and all that. But ultimately, like just an overdriven or a crunchy guitar in a bunch of different shades is to me like the classic sound of the guitar. And I think if I only had one pedal to go with, it would be one that could do that. The reason I chose this one instead of all the other overdrives I own is it can do so much across that range. I can get everything from like a really light high bias breakup, like a even cleaner tube screamer or something like that. I can get really, really fuzzy. I can also get some awesome like old dirty Silvertone style tones. Honestly, there are like very few overdrive sounds that I couldn't get out of this pedal. It is like the only drive pedal I need, and as such, I picked it as the one pedal I would keep were I to lose all of the other ones in some sort of terrible divorce or some sort of other ways that you lose all of your things, or if the collectors came after me. But anyway, I'm going to show you a little bit of what this thing sounds like and talk about why I like it so much. Before I get there, I should mention that as much as I love this pedal, and largely this video is just an ode to how much I love it, I am in no way affiliated with smallsound, bigsound. I bought this pedal, I didn't even get it for free. I have not been paid to do this. I don't know that Brian would do that anyway. But anyway, it's just an honest take. This is not some sort of like shilling or thing where I make money for every Mini that sells after this, so don't worry. Alright, so here's my clean tone. We're playing in the middle position right this moment with 2 P90s and a little Ampeg 5-watt clean amp. And now, let's see what happens when we turn the Mini on. I've got all the knobs basically right about at noon. I've got the volume backed off just a little bit to make it match the amp a little bit better. So even just with everything at noon, it's like a perfect, nice, like middle-of-the-road overdrive. The really cool thing about it to me will always be this middle switch, which is the bias switch. So as we take this almost all the way up, everything gets really smooth. It becomes a drive that's kind of hard to hear on single notes, but when you play, you know, all your strings or chords like that, it really gets that nice little bit of crunch. But the interesting thing to me is when we move it all the way back. So I'll move it a little bit and then play a riff. now, we're going to go to about 9 o'clock. And then all the way back. So as you can hear, as we take that bias knob all the way back, we get a lot more gating, a lot more of that crazy sort of lo-fi sound. When we have the gain minimal on the pedal, it kind of just sounds very choky. But when we turn the gain way up, it gets really, really interesting and really fuzzy, as I'll show you right now. So that is just like the coolest, most ripping fuzz to me in the entire world. I love the tone of it. It has this crazy sort of ripping, like plasticky, Velcro-y sound to me. But I can dial it in so well because in addition to this, I've got 2 EQ knobs. I have a bass and a treble EQ. So if I kick the bass all the way up, I can get a really, really fat tone. I can take the treble all the way up. Get like a mammoth, sort of very woolly tone on that bottom end. There's so much I can do, so many little shades in between to adapt it to given guitars. And on the other side, if we take that bias up, we can get a pretty cool drive tone as well without the fuzz. And at the same time, what I really like to do is take that bias knob about 10 o'clock and take the gain down a little bit and get just this very cool sort of plasticky, almost like a silver tony sound. You're probably kind of tired of that riff, so let me try a different one. Again, it's a little bit hard to hear that subtlety maybe over the recording, but to me, it's just an awesome tone. There's so much I can do with this. The bias switch really is just like what kicks it over the top for me. I love those sort of lo-fi dying battery tones out of pedals, and this one does it better than any other that I'm aware of. But on top of that, even if I just want like a blues breaker or a screamer like Overdrive, I can get those tones as well by kicking that bias knob up and keeping the gain dialed in where I need it to, or adjusting the EQ. So for all of those reasons, I absolutely love this pedal. The first time I got one, I wrote Brian and told him how much of a fan I was of it, and I bought some for other different friends of mine for Christmas and all that sort of stuff. It's like just the coolest pedal to me. If you're on the fence about an Overdrive or if you want a different flavor, again, I would definitely recommend getting one. And I remind you, I'm not getting paid for this, though maybe I should. Brian, I'm going to holler. But it's just a super great pedal. If I was stuck on an island, that would be my number one. If I got to bring a second one, it would probably be the El Cap that I mentioned earlier, just because I can do so much with tape delay as well and get like just awesome sort of lo-fi fluttery tones that are amplified by the Mini as well. So whether you found this video because you were curious what my very favorite guitar pedal was, or if you were just looking for a demo or one man's opinion about the Small Sound Big Sound Mini, I hope it has been useful to you either way. It was a little bit useful for me to know as well what the pedal that I value the most is. I think I might get a second or a third now. Since I like it that much, I better make sure I'm never without one. Anyway, I'm going to play on this guy for a little while longer. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to our channel and give this a thumbs up. Thanks, y'all.